In this PowerPoint, we're going to take a look at creating a persona. So before we talk about what a persona is, let's take a look at what we have accomplished so far. So the first step in our project was to create our design brief, and in our design brief, we defined our problem that we are going to work on for the project. We also took a look at who our target users are, and that's something that we're going to explore in our persona. So in the research, which was the assignment that you just handed in, we created a better understanding of what the problem is and who our users are. So through the research, we should have a better understanding of what our user needs, who they are, and so on. So now we are ready to create a persona and conduct task analysis after conducting our research. So we'll start off with persona. So personas are basically a set of representative profiles for a customer base. So they're used as a design tool and a powerful way to communicate behaviors, goals, wants, and needs, and frustrations. So in simpler terms, personas are basically used to kind of empathize, and that's one of the things that we learned in our previous course material. We want to empathize with our users. So when we create a persona, it's actually a fictional person, but based on sort of real attitudes and real demographics. So based on sort of like a real understanding of who our users are, we're going to create one fictional person. And this person doesn't have to have all the characteristics of all your users, but someone who's typical of a user. For example, if you are redesigning the Web Campus website, then your persona that you're going to create could be a student who is, obviously an international student, so the student could be from India, and it could be a girl. Now, not all the users of Web Campus is going to be, a female student from India, but this is a typical user. It could, very likewise, it could also be, a male student from China or from Hong Kong. So it could be really anybody, but it's going to be someone who's typical of a common user. Okay, so we're going to pick one because there are going to be many different kinds of users, but we're going to pick one who who is one of your types of users, one that you can empathize with, so that it could you could think about the user as a real person with real behaviors and real motivations. So it's sort of like role playing. Okay, so let's just kind of, if you've never done a persona before, that's okay. Let's just kind of get started, get warmed up to the idea by thinking of it as a fictional character that you're going to be creating, so you can better understand your user's behaviors, goals, wants, needs, and frustrations. So let's just play along, okay? This is an example of a persona. So here we have Brandy Tyler, who is a made-up person. There's a picture of this lady here, so it's not her real picture because it's not a real person, okay? So there is no real person named Brandy Tyler. It's just a name that we made up to kind of think of the user, think of the person that's going to use our application or use our product as a real person, someone who's made up, but still you can put a face to it, a name to it, imagine how this person feels. Okay, so this is Brandy Tyler, and she is age 36 years old. She's female, and she's got narrow feet. This has to do with a shoe company, right? So that's why this is one of the things that they're looking at. Okay, so the location, she's based out of Los Angeles, and she's a receptionist and makes about $30K a year. Okay, so we talk about Brandy's motivations here. So Brandy gets very emotional about shopping for shoes in retail stores because she can rarely find one that fits her narrow feet. She's got narrow feet. That's her issue. Recently, she's turned into online shopping to avoid the hassle of shopping in stores, and she's found Monroe after Googling narrow width shoes and reading other reviews about the company. So this is a company that provides shoes for women with narrow feet. Okay, so her goals are she needs 4A with shoes. She would like to purchase several pairs to fit occasion, style, and color. These are her goals, what she hopes to do. She hopes to find, she's hoping that she doesn't have to sacrifice style or options when searching by fit. So she wants to get, a whole variety of things, different types of shoes, and she doesn't want that, the type of her feet, her narrow feet, to impact that. So these are her goals, and these are her frustrations. So not being able to filter available shoes by width, getting fewer options when she applies wide with filter, and no recommendations when she's looking for a pair. So these are things that frustrates her. Okay, so these frustrations can be based on your findings from your survey or interviews, right? So you're not going to just pick these out of thin air. You're going to pull what you have found from your research into the persona. You're going to make someone who's sort of like a typical user or a typical person that you had interviewed, or fits into, typical person that you did survey. Create a person out of them instead of just numbers and words, right? You're going to put a face to it. So that is the whole purpose of creating persona. Of course, your motivations, goals, and frustrations would be different for each case, right? So for example, for a web campus, it would be different than a shoe company, and it will be different if you're doing an online banking app, or it would be different if you are creating a UPS app, things like that. So there'll be different motivations, different goals, different frustrations. Okay. All right, so this is something that I would like you to create. I would like you to come up with a picture. So it could be a picture of anybody. Obviously, if she's supposed to be 36, you want to find someone who looks about 36 years old, not someone who looks like a teenager or someone who looks like she's 80, right? So you want to find a picture that fits that profile. And you want to kind of like do this make-believe story, this imaginary fictional story, but still a story that fits into the typical story of a typical user for your app or product. Okay, so let's kind of play along with this, see how it goes, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to give you my feedback. Okay. You can also have many different personas. So maybe you can't quite decide on one. Maybe you have a casual user, the business user, and a power user. And you can actually have 3 different types that you can create instead of just one, if that's the way that you want to go. Okay, so the step 1 to construct a persona would be to name your persona, come up with a name for it, find a photo for it, find characteristics, and find the demographics. So what is this person like? How old is this person? What gender? Where is he or she from? If a student, then what years of the program is he or she in. So make up as much as you want. There is no wrong or right answers. Just think more and more, characteristics and demographics. The more details you come up for this person, the more real this person will seem to you. You have to think of a real person when you're designing an interface. So it's just very good practice for anyone who's doing UX design, really, to come up with the persona. Next is to get more details. So like we mentioned before, what is the motivation? What kinds of problems is he or she trying to solve? What is her goal? What are her attitudes, her frustrations, what are challenges that she faces? So let's think about those. So these are things that should have came up in your research. If not, you can just sort of explore them right now and, make a list of things that you might want to research or explore in the future. As you're working on this project, you should keep sort of like a journal or a notebook of things that you have thought about that you didn't do in previous assignments, such as maybe you wanted to have included this in your design brief, or questions that you should have asked in your research report. You can keep a log of these notes, and this is something that you can add in your final paper, and that I'll talk more about towards the end of the course. But as you're moving through the project, please keep notes of improvements that you wish you could have done or you will do next time you get a chance. Anyway, moving on, the third step is to place your persona, him or her, in a scenario. So what is he or she doing? What is Brandy doing? So Brandy's trying to buy shoes for her narrow feet. Okay, so that's a task that she's performing. Would be she's on an online website, a store site right now. She's trying to select shoes. She's trying to browse for shoes. And why is she doing that? Because she's frustrated with shopping in real stores, because options are limited. So what is he or she want to accomplish? So Brandy wants to buy, you know, shoes that fit her feet, but at the same time not compromise style or color. She wants to have a huge variety and have it easy to find, have recommendations if something doesn't work out. How does he or she feel? A little bit frustrated, you know, a little bit hopeful. So, you know, think about how one might feel. So put yourself in Brandy's shoes, or whoever your persona is. Put yourself in his or her shoes, how you would feel if you were her or him, you know, going through all these tasks. Okay, so I would like you to create this one-page persona with and placing him or her in a scenario. And this is actually individual work. So each student, you know, will create one persona and submit to me, and this would be graded individually, so not reflective of the group, but the persona that you'll be creating will be based on the group project that you're working on. Okay, so I thought I'd give you a little chance to break away from the group for a bit, do a little bit of individual work. You can still consult with your group members on, you know, what they think. You can still continue working together, especially if you have a great working relationship and are finding that, you know, working together and bouncing ideas off each other has been really useful. So in the next class, we're going to take a look at task analysis. So task analysis is the process of learning about the ordinary users by observing them in action to understand in detail how they perform their tasks and achieve their intended goals. So it's going to help you identify the tasks that your interface must support, and it can also help you refine or redefine your interface's scope. So this is quite a large portion of our assignment as well. We'll talk more about this after we're done our personas. So for this class, let's focus on persona. Next class, I'll start talking about task analysis after our Q&A session on our persona. Okay, so let's see how this persona exercise goes. It is due on Thursday, so I will check in with you, and hopefully you are, you know, following along with the readings, and this PowerPoint helps you out, and I can give you my feedback and let you know how you're doing. Okay, so again, I urge you to get in touch with me if you want more one-on-one sort of time with me to go over your work. Okay, so that's it for now. Have fun with the persona section of this assignment. Again, I remind you that this is individual work.